said it so many times today, but he's your favourite fighter's favourite fighter. One of my favourite fighters to watch him. I hope when I beat him he doesn't retire. I hope he has some more fights. I hope he doesn't retire once I beat him, but that's what's going to happen. I'm going to beat him just like I beat Michael Chandler. Beat him to the punch on the feet, ruin his legs with kicks. I'm going to damage his calf, and if it does go to the ground, it'll be over even faster.
Dustin Poirier has floated a prediction that could catch plenty of fight fans off guard ahead of the highly anticipated UFC 324 main event.
Towards Justin.
You're one of the few that I've heard say that. Can you tell us why?
I just think he's been in those 25-minute fights. He's been in dog fights before.
A seasoned observer pointed to Justin Gaethje's vast experience in brutal 5-round fights as a decisive factor that could determine the outcome. Having survived countless wars inside the octagon, Gaethje carries an understanding that can't be taught in any gym: the ability to endure and excel when the fight enters deep waters. Poirier questioned Paddy Pimblett's capacity to manage Gaethje in extended striking exchanges, while also doubting whether the Brit can consistently secure takedowns against such a fundamentally sound grappler. That dynamic places Pimblett in a dangerous position where striking becomes the likeliest path. From Poirier's perspective, Pimblett's true challenge lies in controlling the fight for all 25 minutes, staying composed, choosing his moments, and avoiding drawn-out brawls. That level of patience and maturity usually comes only from years at the championship level. Gaethje, meanwhile, brings heavier power and the willingness to walk through danger to land his own shots, an unrelenting pressure over 5 rounds that poses a massive test, especially for a fighter entering his first title bout.
He's going to have a tough time stopping him on the feet, and I don't think Paddy's going to be able to get him down, so he's going to have to fight with him. Unless Paddy can stay super disciplined for 25 minutes, stay a distance, pick his shots. Justin's just a bigger puncher, and he'll put himself in harm's way to land one of those shots. And it's tough to stay away from him for 25 minutes.
Do you think that the UFC wants Paddy to win?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably, because Justin's talking about retirement, and Paddy's still young, and they can continue to build him. There's a bunch of fights we haven't seen with Paddy. So it's more marketable if Paddy wins.
And so how do you see it playing out?
I think Justin stops him.
Wow.
Alexander Volkanovski sees the matchup through a very different lens as UFC 324 approaches on January 24th. The former featherweight champion expects Pimblett to emerge victorious and claim the interim title. His reasoning is rooted in what he's seen throughout Pimblett's UFC run. Time and again, when doubts surfaced before big moments, Pimblett responded by executing his game plan and quieting critics. Volkanovski highlighted Pimblett's most recent performance against Michael Chandler as proof of his ability to stick to a strategy under intense pressure. That discipline, in his view, will be essential against an opponent as dangerous and unpredictable as Gaethje.
I'm going to go with Paddy, you know what I mean? There's been a couple of times where I thought Paddy's had big tests in front of him and he's passed them. And, he showed me in his last fight he can really stick to a game plan. And he's going to need that with Gaethje. So I'm going to go Paddy.
Colby Covington expressed frustration with betting odds that currently favor Pimblett so heavily. Covington remarked that he would place significant money on Gaethje if active fighters were allowed to wager on their own bouts. While public sentiment leans toward the British contender, Covington views Gaethje as a rugged, relentless opponent poised to push Pimblett further than anyone before. For him, this fight will reveal whether Pimblett truly belongs among the elite or if parts of his rise have been overstated.
You know, if he gets it done, it's because Justin's just so shot. He's been in so many wars. You know, he's been around the company so long, and that knockout to Max Holloway, he just hasn't recovered from. So if he gets to win that, then yeah, there. But this is seems like a smash spot. Like, if I was able to bet fighting, which we're not allowed to because the feds got involved because that moron coach James Krause screwed it up for all of us, but this seems like a smash spot on Gaethje because everybody's on, and all the public is driving the money line for Paddy Pimblett to be the favorite. But I think Justin's still a tough dog, and he's going to come out there and give his all, and he doesn't want to lose this fight. This could be his last fight if he loses. So I think he's going to put Paddy to the test, and Paddy usually has to control the wrestling aspect, put guys to the ground to get his submission and to get his striking game working. So I don't know. Justin's shot on one hand, they're trying to give him an easy win on a silver platter to Paddy to build him up. He's got a little bowl cut and a little mouth, and they think he's the next star. So I don't know. It's a tough fight to judge. How much is left in the tank for Justin versus a guy that's absolute nobody that hasn't actually accomplished anything in the sport yet. We shall see.
Dan Hooker echoed that sentiment, strongly disputing Pimblett's status as the betting favorite. He emphasized Gaethje's sharp takedown defense as a major obstacle to Pimblett's approach, stating plainly that he doesn't expect Pimblett to take Gaethje down. Hooker also noted that Pimblett hasn't often faced elite opponents in their prime. Adding to that perspective, Belal Muhammad broke down the matchup on his YouTube channel and also leaned toward Gaethje. The former welterweight champion highlighted Pimblett's tendency to absorb heavy shots during exchanges, a flaw that becomes far more dangerous against someone with Gaethje's power and aggressive style. Muhammad believes those defensive lapses will eventually cost Pimblett, leading him to pick Gaethje.
Boxing. Don't get pulled into chaos. Don't get pulled into a grappling or wrestling or showing that you could do what he can do better, right? I think on the feet, Justin, you have a really big advantage. And if you're patient, you're smart, you systematically break him down, kind of like how you did against Tony Ferguson, it'll be an easy night for you. For Paddy, I think you got to create chaos. You got to wrestle as much as possible. Yeah, he has college wrestling accolades. This isn't college wrestling. This is UFC. This is fighting. This is punches. This is grappling. This is everything involved. So if I'm Paddy, I'm going to shoot in early and test it early. When you guys are both dry, that's where it comes. We've seen guys like Habib catch a low kick and shoot off it, or as he's pulling that kick back, shoot off it, push him to the fence. We've seen him get pressured. You don't want to get hit by him. Everybody who gets hit by him says how hard he hits. He's one of the hardest hitters in the division. So let's not test your chin. Let's not say Scousers don't get knocked out, right? We don't need to do that. I think your path to victory is clear. It's on the ground. I think you will have a big advantage if it gets into those hard grappling exchanges. And especially if you get multiple takedowns on him. You were able to control Michael Chandler, who's another college wrestler, on the ground pretty easily, mounted him. And you say you want to do the same thing with Justin? Let's put that plan to action. My pick, I think I'm going to go with Justin. I think Paddy just gets hit a lot on the feet. Yeah, he's pretty much clean his last two victories, but Jared Gordon had some clean shots on him, big hooks, big crosses. And Justin kind of like boxes, kind of like Jared. Clean, he likes dirty boxing, he likes inside boxing. Justin's very good there, so I think I'm going to pick Justin in this one. I don't know if he knocks him out or finishes him. I do think it kind of would be a decision going on the Tony Ferguson type fight. Paddy's tough. He's not hard to break. I mean, it's not easy to.
Michael Chandler offered particularly valuable insight, having shared the cage with both fighters. After losing to Pimblett in April 2025, Chandler gained first-hand experience with skills he feels many fans underestimate. He openly acknowledged that the Liverpool native possesses more ability than he's often credited for. Still, when pressed for a prediction, Chandler sided with Gaethje, citing his experience and well-rounded arsenal. The former Bellator champion views Gaethje as a level of opponent Pimblett has yet to encounter. Chandler even suggested Gaethje could go on to unify the title, noting that while Ilia Topuria may be the best pound-for-pound fighter today, the lightweight division has become exceptionally complex with several legitimate contenders.
It looks like.
Oh man, more skilled, more experienced, I think better fighter all around, Justin Gaethje. But I also have been on record and said that Paddy Pimblett is better than a lot of people think he is. You know, because of his haircut and the way he talks, and when I fought him, he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. He's got long reach, good kicks, pretty darn patient and composed in there, but Gaethje's a whole different animal. So if I had to bet, I'd go Justin Gaethje, interim champion, and then Ilia Topuria later on.
Ali Abdelaziz, however, stood firmly on the opposite side, strongly backing Pimblett to win the interim championship. The bantamweight star sees this as an ideal stylistic matchup for the British grappler. Ali predicts Pimblett will find his opening in the second round and capitalize by securing a rear-naked choke. His confidence underscores a belief in Pimblett's submission skills and his instinct for recognizing vulnerability amid chaos, qualities Ali expects to be decisive when everything is on the line.
I don't know, dude. I'm kind of leaning towards Paddy. But the way he does get hit with left hooks, he looks so good against Michael Chandler. Paddy's got a lot of ways to win.
He's a scouser.
He's a scouser. Scousers don't get knocked out, you mushroom.
He KO'd Dustin with a head kick too. The fight before the Max Holloway one, which is pretty impressive.
True. So who got, man?
Probably Paddy, rear naked.
I think, Paddy RNC.
His member could be.
Yeah. Member could be. Paddy RNC is definitely.
Matt Brown expanded the discussion beyond simple predictions, offering sharp criticism of the UFC's modern matchmaking philosophy. The veteran expressed frustration with what this bout represents in terms of title opportunity distribution. In Brown's view, Pimblett's swift rise to an interim title shot feels disconnected from pure competitive merit, driven instead by popularity, social media traction, and pay-per-view appeal. He contrasted that path with Arman Tsarukyan's grind, systematically defeating elite contenders and proving himself against the division's most dangerous opposition, yet still being passed over. To Brown, this disparity reflects a growing concern that championships are increasingly influenced by marketability rather than achievement.
Basically saying Paddy's more popular, you're getting it over Armin.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, right? And that's, I mean, God, I hate like how I kind of get into this too much, but I mean, that's really like, that's the definition of, you know, a monopoly where a single promoter owns the title and the rankings. And it's not a good thing for the sport, in my opinion. And I have to question what it's going to do for the longevity of the sport. You know, I don't think in the short term it's really going to make a big difference, right? Like, you know, it's going to sell the next fight, right? It's going to sell the next pay-per-view. But trends tend to come and go, right? Fads tend to come and go. At some point, like, you know, to have staying power and lasting power, I think it requires, you know, a meritocracy-based system. It's going to require, you know, some, you know, if you want to bring in guys like Armin Tsarukyan or Movsar Evloev, I always mess up how I say his name. You want to bring in these Olympic wrestling level guys. I mean, they don't want to have to go out there and put on some ridiculous show to become a champion. They don't want to have to go on Instagram and start a podcast and make you know, whatever kind of skits on social media and this silly kind of stuff. Like, they just want to be a world champion because they want to be the best athlete. And that's what makes me wonder how the staying power is going to be, right? When you're dealing with guys that are, you know, legitimate athletes that want to be legitimate athletes, and they're getting passed up by guys that are entertainers.
Uriah Faber echoed sentiments shared by several who favor Gaethje. The former WEC champion believes Gaethje thrives once fights descend into chaotic exchanges, where he's fully willing to trade damage to land his own offense. While Faber acknowledged the threat posed by Pimblett's submission game, he pointed to Gaethje's Division I wrestling background as a key defensive asset. That foundation, he argues, should allow Gaethje to survive grappling moments and steer the fight back to the feet, where his advantages are most pronounced and his comfort level is highest.
Pimblett and Justin Gaethje, who do you favor in that fight?
I gotta go with Gaethje. I feel like he's the one that loves to like get down and throw fist for fist, and he's also got the Division I wrestling to negate some of the biggest skill sets of Paddy. Paddy's like a very dominant grappler when it comes to submissions. I think Gaethje has the tools to keep it where he wants.
Tony Ferguson, having competed across eras against both men during his long UFC run, introduced a psychological angle. He suggested motivation could be a deciding factor not always captured by statistics or skill breakdowns. Ferguson noted that Gaethje's history of interim titles and unrealized championship goals could create internal pressure. By contrast, Pimblett's hunger to capture his first major title might fuel the kind of intensity that pushes fighters beyond their limits. While Ferguson views both as vulnerable, he slightly leans toward the contender chasing his first defining moment.
Bad, dude. Paddy's not bad. He's very beatable, and Gaethje's very beatable as well. But when it goes into the passion and how upsetting Justin Gaethje has always been about not getting that real title shot, and they just keep dangling it right there again, Paddy's in for a new treat, right? Paddy's the one that's never fought for a belt. He's going in there. He's going to be trying to, you know, get that stuff. He's going to feel a little bit more pressure. He's going to have that little bit of excitedness in my opinion.
Renato Moicano delivered a bold prediction, calling for a Pimblett submission victory. His reasoning centers on the belief that unless Gaethje secures an early knockout or TKO, the fight will inevitably drift into grappling territory, where Pimblett holds a clear edge. Moicano argued that betting markets have undervalued the significant gap in submission skills between the two. In his view, the odds should reflect a much closer contest, exposing how many observers overemphasize striking while overlooking the grappling equation.
Tough matchup, you know? I think 5 rounds. If this is the common take, everybody gonna say that, not only me, but if Justin Gaethje doesn't stop him on the beginning, he's going to lose. I think everybody thinks like that, and I think Paddy Pimblett will beat Justin Gaethje. That's what
Eddie Alvarez approached the matchup from a uniquely personal standpoint shaped by first-hand experience with Gaethje. Rather than focusing on raw talent or technique, the former lightweight champion highlighted preparation and adaptability as decisive elements. Alvarez recalled that Gaethje brings a form of pressure that no sparring partner can truly replicate: the constant physical impact, suffocating aggression, and absence of breathing room. He stressed that no camp can fully prepare a fighter for that reality until it's felt under fight night intensity. Ultimately, Alvarez believes the competitor who adapts faster once the action begins could prevail, regardless of how perfect training appeared on paper.
Years ago, what's like the first thing that comes to mind when you think of that fight with Justin?
That I'm glad it's over and I never want to do it again. I'm like, the fans don't ever ask for a rematch or anything like that, because that would have never. I'm like, I'm glad. He's unique, man, and he's one of my favorite guys to watch. So like, but if you want to beat Justin Gaethje, you have to. So he's a forward fighter and a pressure fighter that he will stand in the pocket, and he's gonna throw everything he got in that pocket. If you don't meet him, you'll get chewed up. So Paddy, the way to beat a guy who like does this, very violent, aggressive pressure fighter, you have to meet him. You have to throw when he throws. So you got to be brave, and you have to go when he goes in between his shots. If you do that, you got a fair shot. If you don't do that, if you're not brave and courageous and throw when he throws in between his shots, it's going to be a really long night. It's going to be a hard night.
Michael Bisping threw his support behind Pimblett, emphasizing the Brit's well-rounded skill set. The former middleweight champion also referenced Pimblett's much-discussed durability, now part of his reputation. While acknowledging Gaethje as one of the most dangerous punchers in the sport, Bisping believes Pimblett can navigate danger through seamless transitions between striking and wrestling. That adaptability, he argues, could be critical when Pimblett needs to escape peril or assert control. His ability to threaten on multiple fronts forces opponents into constant defensive dilemmas.
We know an interim champion basically means the #1 contender. But if Paddy can pull it off, unbelievable. That'll be 4 champs, 2 interims and 2 legit, well 3 legit now with Tom being promoted from the UK that have become champions. And for Justin Gaethje, this is the final go. This is the final crack of the whip. The man's had 2 title fights in the past, Charles Oliveira to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and now he gets to go up against Paddy Pimblett. Now talking about the matchup, of course it is an easier fight for Justin than what it is against Khabib Nurmagomedov, one of the greatest of all time. Islam Makhachev, the current pound for pound, and according to many people, a man that is surpassing Khabib Nurmagomedov, right? So in that regard, it is an easier matchup. Will Paddy be able to take him down? Will he dance around the octagon? Yes, he will. Will he try and replicate the game plan of Max Holloway? Of course he will. Who wouldn't try and do that? You aren't going to stand and go toe-to-toe with Justin Gaethje, because the man does have knockout power. But underestimate Paddy at your peril.
As UFC 324 approaches with the interim lightweight title atop the bill, the MMA community remains sharply divided. This Saturday night clash inside T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas promises definitive answers to questions that have dominated debate for weeks. Whether Gaethje's battle-tested experience and concussive power overwhelm Pimblett's unbeaten momentum, or whether the Brit's grappling, adaptability, and composure prove too much for the veteran, remains to be seen. Both fighters enter carrying different forms of pressure and motivation, factors that may ultimately tip the scales when everything is on the line.